Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining today's webinar, COVID-19 Stimulus and Compliance in 2021. My name is Mike Vanoy. I lead product and marketing at Asure, and joining me for today's conversation is Eyal Goldstein. Eyal's our President and Chief Revenue Officer. Much more importantly, Eyal and I both have spent 20-some years each in the payroll, HR, human capital management space, with a real emphasis in small business, whether it's providing services to small businesses or being entrepreneurs ourselves in our hand in business. So I'm really excited about the perspective Eyal is going to bring to us today as we unpack our latest ebook around stimulus and compliance. So welcome, Eyal.
Thank you, Mike. Really glad to be here and excited to be talking to everybody.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk stimulus and compliance as it relates to COVID. What I would say is if you hop on our website, go to suresoftware.com/COVID-19, you're going to see just tons and tons of information. We got a ton of webinars out on all these discrete topics. But what we've tried to do is try to roll all this together into a single ebook. The last 12 months, last 14 months has been, I'd say, a blur with so much legislative activity that I think even though a lot of the legislation is kind of past us, the impact in the shadow is very long, right? There are compliance considerations that employers are still going to have to make all through this year, and maybe more importantly, as this economy starts to turn a corner and starts to go back towards opening up, we just want to make sure every small business owner, every entrepreneur, every executive at a medium-sized company is able to take advantage of every penny of stimulus available to them to get growing again. And that's what this ebook is about. So we're not going to read every single page out of this ebook. Really encourage you to hop on the website, suresoftware.com/guide COVID-19 stimulus and compliance in 2021. You can follow along, or you can download it after the fact. But we're going to take the highlights out of this ebook and really unpack those for you. So, Eyal, you've been in this business for a while. What do you think of the last 14 months when it comes to the amount of legislation, and maybe more specifically the trillion with a T number of dollars that have been kind of poured into small and mid-sized companies?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And no, I think blur is probably a good way to describe the last 14 months for us and for businesses out there. But ultimately, if I think about it, yeah, trillions of dollars and trillions, not just one, multiple trillions. But, something like 7 major acts or initiatives that were passed that resulted in probably a dozen to a dozen and a half of specific programs targeted at small businesses. And so you think about the trillions of dollars and you hear it every day in the news. There is a lot of money and opportunity out there for small businesses to tap into. Due to a once in a 100-year pandemic that we just went through, right? And so it's pretty amazing. It's a lot to keep up with, and I do think that by the way, this ebook unpacks really all of it, whether it's the hyperlinks around the specific programs or the how-tos or videos. I do think, as a point of reference, if you're trying to keep up with 14, 15 really important programs for your small business, this reference guide is a great tool to do that. But really excited to jump in and talk about the different initiatives.
Yeah, let's do that. So, and we'll start with one that ironically is in a lot of ways kind of behind us. It's the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. Which was one of the many programs that came out of CARES, right? The CARES Act that passed end of March of 2020. And I think a couple things. The second draw of PPP that passed, what was it, December 27th, as part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act. It was to last through May 31st. The reality is the funds have already ran out, but I think you don't hear a lot of noise about it because I think most people who were going to apply, who qualified and were going to apply, did so. Is that your sense, Al?
I think so. I think ultimately, lots of folks, 60, 62, 63%, whatever it was, that actually applied and received some kind of money there. I do think the funds have ran out as of the beginning of this month. But now it's all about the forgiveness aspect, right? Which is just as critical. So you receive the lifeline, you receive the money. So now how do you make sure that you're qualified for the forgiveness? And there's work that goes into that, right? There's a lot of data that you're going to need, or that companies need out of their payroll and tax systems in order to quickly get to the right information in order to fill out the forms around forgiveness.
Yeah, and so the purpose of this entire webinar series is just to provide content and information to help small businesses and entrepreneurs, stay compliant and grow their businesses, right? So not looking for a big infomercial on Asure, but Asure has done a few things to help their clients kind of collect and gather this information, haven't they?
We have, and really it's just okay, what is the information that you need in order to drive forgiveness, in order for you to fill out the forms that has all the data that's necessary for forgiveness for you to turn in, and we created a report or a set of reports that pre-populates a lot of this information for you based on taxable wages, based on your employees' taxes paid. That allows you now to take that, transfer it, and use it as part of your forgiveness package to the IRS. So yeah, if you think about the percentage of small businesses that applied for it and got it, that's our bread and butter as small business. And so this was almost table stakes for us to create something that gave them the ability to really help drive forgiveness and the data that we had that we were holding for them.
Yeah, very good. So if you're an Asure customer listening today, just know that you got that available to you. If you're not, download the ebook anyway. This does not require you to be a customer to take advantage. What you see on screen is text, but a lot of these things are hyperlinks right to, say, small business administration websites that have really step-by-step instructions, including the forms to how to apply for forgiveness. I think the only other thing maybe I'd want to hit on here is early days, there was a lot of anxiety around tax implications, right? So if I'm a business that I'm white knuckling it, how the heck am I going to survive, right? I run a restaurant, and I took $100,000 PPP loan, and thank God, because it allowed me to pay some people and pay my mortgage, pay some utilities to keep the doors open. But all of a sudden, those things weren't going to be, because it was paid with stimulus money, it wasn't going to be able to be treated as a business expense. I couldn't write it off on my tax anymore. So, I might have been able to pay the bills, but as a result, I might not have been able to pay the tax bill. So from a federal standpoint, we got relief, right, when under CAA, under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, December 27th. So there isn't federal income against those expenses anymore, but we would still guide caution for people to pay attention locally, because different states are treating this differently. And anything you'd want to guide there, Dale?
No, I do think that folks need to seek advice and counsel as well from whoever is preparing their tax, or CPA, or an accounting advisor. Because it does differentiate around the different states, right? Certain states you can deduct, certain states will allow partial deduction or any deduction. And so I do think, we do work with a lot of accountants and CPAs out there. They are very forthcoming and working with double, triple time the amount they have in the past with their small businesses. You do want to seek that kind of guidance as well, just to make sure that you're double, triple checking and you're not doing anything wrong there.
Yeah, and so we're obviously here past May 15th, so this may be water under the bridge for a lot of people, but probably more extensions. I haven't seen the data yet, but certainly there's more extensions filed this year than ever before, just because of so much change. So I think this is a setup to the next topic, which ironically I wanted to defer again to the end. So to me, and anybody who watches and listens to the show regularly knows, I think PPP just sucked all the oxygen out of the room in 2020 in really most of Q1 for 2021. If you're a small business owner, you had a choice. You could take either PPP funds or employee retention tax credits. The path of least resistance and the most money was in PPP. So I think people went down that path and just never even explored employee retention tax credits. But when the CAA passed and all of a sudden retroactively said, hey, even if you took PPP in 2020, you can retroactively still apply for those credits, even if you took a PPP loan, as long as you don't double dip the funds. That was an absolute game changer. I think it's the single biggest stimulus opportunity for small businesses in our country's history, right behind PPP loans. So because of that, I kind of want to almost make this the focus of our conversation, but I want to kind of rattle through some of the other compliance related opportunities, compliance and stimulus related opportunities for small businesses. Is that anything you'd want to say there before maybe we pick this topic back up, Al?
Yeah, I would probably say could be up there as big or even bigger than PPP when it's all said and done. So yes, I do think it warrants a much broader conversation. But ultimately, when I think about the small businesses out there that are gaining more and more awareness every single day around employee retention tax credit, and are leveraging it, and I'm hearing of some of the numbers coming back. I do think PPP would be probably on par or maybe even less when we're through the next, call it, year here. So
yeah, no, I'm right there with you. All right, so let's hit some of the other, I think, smaller but just still really important things, right? So there's a combination of laws between FFCRA, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That was the first big legislation that passed last year. Just like a week or 10 days later, we had CARES. But then also CAA and then ARPA under the Biden administration. But there's really three big buckets around employee paid leave, right? There's tax credits available for getting vaccines or recovering from vaccines, right? For paid leave for, if you got to take care of your kids or you're sick or you got family members impacted, and then an extended version of that, how that ties into FMLA. At the end of the day, each of these has their own flavor. We've got a ton of content. Most of these have dedicated webinars just in and of themselves. The ebook does a really good job unpacking a lot of this detail. How would you guide small business owners to be thinking about, what is still kind of, I'd say, a blur of last year? This is still a lot to consume, but there's a way for small businesses to really take care of their employees, be part of the broader pandemic solution, and get money in their pockets, right, to grow their businesses. How would you guide small business owners here?
yeah, and I really wasn't kidding, whether you're an Asure client or any other non-client or partner associated with Asure or not. This ebook, when I've gone through this ebook, it was really everything you ever wanted to know about everything available to small business and were afraid to ask or didn't know where to go. So again, lots to unpack here. A lot of these acts are driving, these are issues that are coming up that small businesses are facing every day. Time off for vaccine and paid leave credits and an emergency FMLA. So there's so many, and I do believe there's going to be more that come, right? So I think educating yourself on the different acts and the different programs is probably the most important piece, right? As long as you're educated and understand, okay, here are the different buckets, here are the different things that are available to me, whether some of them or all of them apply, I think you'll be able to really figure that out. But you gotta understand first what the different programs are.
Yeah, and I think usually the word compliance kind of you think of the word cost, not stimulus, right? But some of these things, so I'll just take the first one, the tax credits for your employees getting vaccinated, or maybe they need a couple sick days because shot number 2 didn't go so well, which we all know people who were impacted that way. If you're a small business owner and you want to let your people go get vaccinated, but you don't have a backfill, right? Or that backfill, maybe you don't have your small business and you run on really thin margins and you're barely making it. It's not that you're afraid to let that person go because you're not a good human being. It's you're gonna have to pay someone else during that time, and can you really take that extra cost? This is a way that it doesn't matter what your political leanings are here. These are programs that exist to reimburse you as a small business owner to pay for these things. So even if you have to come out of pocket up front, you claim it. Most people on their quarterly 941, you get the money back. So this is one of those really rare opportunities. I'd say once in our lifetime probably, that compliance and stimulus are 2 sides of the same card, So this is not just read the ebook to know how to stay out of jail and follow the law. This is really how can you maximize the stimulus available to you to grow your business. Anything else you'd want to add on employee leave types,
I would just agree. I think in general, every small business is facing it. Every small business is running into their employees or even owners that are out there getting the vaccines. All of these are, I would say, the most relevant pieces of legislation for small businesses. So again, there's probably not one small business out there with more than one employee that's not or can't participate in some of these things because of just how relevant they are around getting a vaccine, needing the time off, or some sort of emergency FMLA time.
Yeah, right. Okay, next one is the deferral of payroll taxes. So under, I guess it was CARES last year, introduced this concept around deferring the employer portion of Social Security, right? And then I think it was November of 2020, President Trump kind of issued a memorandum that also allowed employers to defer the employee portion of Social Security. Very few people participated in that program just because we don't even have to go into it. We did a webinar on it. There's candidly there was a lot of risk around that. But the program still existed and exists with payments taking us all the way out to I talk about COVID having a long shadow. So these deferrals are going out into end of 2022. So what's your advice, and how should employers be thinking about deferring taxes? Is it worth it? Is it a cash flow consideration? It's not necessarily savings. How do you see this?
Yeah, and I think it really depends. There isn't one size fits all here. I think again, very impactful. Do you have an issue with cash flow? Is cash flow critical? Normally it is for all small businesses. And so how do you comply with that in order to avoid some sort of penalty that would happen down the road with paying it, turnover that might happen in collecting? I just think ultimately these things, it's not a one size fits all. You really need to understand it, understand the impact to your P&L and to your employees, and then ultimately once you make that call, make sure that you have the systems in place to track it and account for it, because I think that's really important with these. You're starting to get into very complex tax and legislation formulas, and you got to make sure you're tracking it. You got to make sure you're accounting for it. You got to make sure the money eventually gets to the IRS, right, to avoid penalties.
Yeah.
So that part is really important. The one thing I would point out here.
I think you hit it on the head, Al, because I think there's is the complexity to manage it and take advantage of the deferral worth it? I mean, if you're super sophisticated and have resources, you could defer the payroll tax. You save that money, you put it in an account,
Sure.
you theoretically earn some interest on it. But is that worth all the extra accounting around it? Maybe not. I probably the lens that I would look through as an entrepreneur or small business owner would be, this may not be worth it to you to simply defer the taxes if you can afford to pay it. But if you can't afford to pay it and you're struggling, how do I keep my doors open? This is a lifeline available to you, right?
And I completely agree. The only thing I would add, Mike, here is, if you really look at the success of the different programs, this was one that I do think, and I know personally with some companies, that the larger employers just opted not to participate. And so some of that was due to there wasn't so much guidance out there, and some of it was, is there really a big benefit for employees, right? And some saw it as more limited benefit to employees. And I think you talk about that in this, but that would be the only thing to add here.
Yeah. Next topic is around dependent care assistance. Now, this is not something that gets a lot of headlines in the small business world, right? I think it's important to know. So I think most people understand what FSA is, the savings accounts for medical expenses. I think that aside from the note that temporarily under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, the limit increased from 5,000 to 10,500. The real thing here is taxation, right? So this is not just, hey, this is a good thing for your employees who need it, but this is pre-tax dollars. And so,
yeah.
I almost encourage this to be maybe a wake-up call for small employers who aren't thinking about FSA, who aren't thinking about DCAP, dependent care oriented assistance programs, basically dependent care, FSA. What's your encouragement to small business owners and entrepreneurs around the tax benefits that I think a lot of small companies, as they're just kind of coming up, just don't even think about necessarily?
Some of the fastest growth when I look at the different programs out there are HSA and FSA programs. And I do think as small business owners become more educated on it, a lot of it are no-brainers to offer it, right? And again, whether it's the care of children or it's spouses or some family member as well, right? And so this one is extremely relevant. It doesn't get enough coverage, but at the end of the day, I would encourage business owners to really understand FSA and HSA programs, and the benefit of it really outweighs the costs that I know of that it costs to track it and manage it and administer it.
Yeah, and FSA, flexible spending account, you can help yourself from tax benefit, you can help your employees on a tax benefit, and honestly, it is just a great way to another way to find engagement with employees. If they see you as the person helping them save money in a way that really impacts their family, their kids, their parents, it just deepens the relationship as well. So I think maybe I want to touch real quick on health insurance. This isn't as big of a deal for many employers, but there was changes around COBRA and a subsidy. You want to take us through that, Al?
Yeah, ultimately, again, lots of programs, but around the COBRA piece, a lot more administration, So again, there's different options that were put out around the health insurance. You know, the Tempora COBRA subsidy, probably the largest out of it. An extension of it going back a year and a half as well. And so again, lots to administer, lots to manage. I think that's probably the most important piece out of COBRA. Many small businesses offer COBRA, but ultimately the extension of the period, I think from my standpoint, was one of the biggest things to really look at and understand how to manage and administer.
Yeah, from a financial standpoint, I would guide small business owners that, you know, so many compliance oriented mandates are kind of these unfunded mandates, right? That's, you know, the cost to administer falls on you without reimbursement. Here's one that actually has additional cost, right? So the purpose here was to help protect employees. If you lose your job, yeah, there's COBRA has existed for, you know, a couple decades plus now, so they can get insurance, but it's, you know, darned expensive, as we all know, for the employee to buy COBRA directly. So here they get 100% subsidy, but you as an employer still have to come out of pocket to pay for it. So there's a short-term potential hit on you as an employer, but 100% tax credit, right? And as all things, that you get it back on your 941. So to your point, Al, the complexity is dizzying of all these things. How the heck do you account for these things on 941? Well, you better have somebody who knows how to do your payroll taxes and do it well, right? So.
Well, and the notices that need to go out to employees, right? And so if you are doing this on your own, there's quite a bit of process that's required of you in order to facilitate the program as well. So I think some of the model notices you unpack or lay out in the ebook, but that's probably just as important too around the dissemination of information side.
Yeah, right. And that's really where the compliance end of it hits, right? Are you notifying and informing in a traceable way?
Yes.
Impacted employees, right?
Yeah.
That's where the teeth are, right?
Yeah.
All right. Last thing I want to touch on before we jump back into employee retention tax credits. Just put some color, if you could, around IRS. You know, their willingness to work with people, the backlog that they're facing. This is going to be maybe one of the longest shadows of COVID, in my opinion, for small businesses. Is you know, we wade through what's going to be a long time waiting for credits and notices, resolutions, etc.
Yeah, I think this is really important, and I think for me, one of the, I would say, most impactful observances coming out of COVID and some of the IRS enforcement changes that we've seen directly has been almost breaking down the perception of the IRS as this big bad organization that's out to get you, right? And so, you know, just anecdotally, you know, we are at Asure power of attorney for tens of thousands of organizations, small businesses that we handle taxes for. And ultimately, as small businesses encounter tax notices, we are able to resolve those accordingly, right? And so whether we amend different forms, whether we adjust taxes, pay taxes, really important. So we have a direct line with the IRS, and we do a lot of work with them around notices and resolving notices for our clients. As we've been resolving notices, which has been different than the past, normally the resolution of those notices really stops any future notices because the IRS is able to keep up with those resolutions. One of the biggest changes that I've seen due to really the shutdown of the work at the IRS and all the legislation changes, and now the logjam or backup of information or backlog of information and notices that they have that they're just trying to keep up and resolve, it's causing a lot of angst with small businesses. So certain things might be resolved, but because the IRS is having a lot of time in order to get to these notices, to actually get them in the system, the right hand talking to the left hand, future notices just continue automatically to come out, right? And again, it's really about them catching up with that work. So that's really, really important to understand. There's a huge backlog. It's taking time for them to catch up. The second piece is 99.9% are getting abated, at least from what I'm seeing. So they are absolutely working with small businesses and organizations that represent small businesses to abate these things. They understand there's not a malicious intent to file something wrong, or to not add a certain deduction, or increase or decrease a certain deduction. So a lot of the abatements are happening fairly quickly as well, because they understand what's transpired from the pandemic, and really just how difficult all these legislation changes have been to small businesses over the last year.
Yeah, you know what? I think you hit the nail on the head. And to me, the most important aspect of that is just proactive communication, right? If you, the IRS only becomes nasty when you ignore them, right? If you get proactive, you get a notice. If you're an Asure client, send it to us instantly and we're on it, right?
Yeah.
If you're a small business owner doing it yourself with QuickBooks or something, respond immediately. You're gonna find a pretty friendly voice on the other end of the line to help walk you through it, right? And they understand, just like we opened this conversation, more legislative change in the last 14 months than the last 14 years. Their heads are spinning too, so
Yeah.
that they'll for sure work with you. Just do not ignore the problem.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's come back to and we'll wrap on this topic, Gail. And I just don't want to be melodramatic about it, but if you exclude PPP, and you make a good point, this might actually surpass PPP in this country's history, right? 200 plus years, there has never been any kind of stimulus like this for small businesses, right? So if you are, I just don't, we're not, we're not red, we're not blue, we're not left, we're not right, we don't care. This is laws that have passed. So it doesn't matter whether you voted for this legislation or not. There is life-changing money available for small businesses to really impact either possibly survival, or for an awful lot of companies to put this money into real growth, right? And have a tremendous stimulative effect on the economy, for sure. That was the intent. But on you as business owners and entrepreneurs and executives running mid-sized companies, this is something that we've just never seen before. So Ale, we got a ton of content in the ebook, ton of content online on our website. Tee this topic up. How should small business owners, be thinking about ERTC? How should they be acting? And specifically, what advice are you giving?
I think, to me, the most important piece here with ERTC is, as a business owner, take an hour, take 2 hours, and ask yourself, why not? Not why or how do I qualify, but why wouldn't I qualify for this? And I think that is the most important aspect of looking at this program. Millions of dollars, and I just spoke to a small business owner yesterday, 62 employees, and frantic. He's frantic about, in this case, us, it's an Asure client, processing the 941X, or the amended return, in order for him to get in line for his ERTC credits. $1.2 million in ERTC credits. And Mike, just like you mentioned, his conversation with me is, Ale, this is life-changing for me. I just want to be at the front of the line. That's it. And as a partner, how quickly can you get this done for me? and we got it done for him fairly quickly, a day and a half, and we scrambled and we were able to get it done for him. But nonetheless, there are millions of examples like that out there. The folks that are taking the time to just understand it, and in fact, if they don't understand, ask somebody about it. I think what you're going to see is this PPP will dwarf what ERTC is at the end of the program for small businesses.
Yeah, so I really like the way you said that. So ask yourself why not instead of why, right? So rather than turning this into, hey, do you qualify? How does the program work? I want to say we have it's maybe 3 or 4 1-hour-long webinars just on exactly that topic. You got a high-level look here on the screen for qualifications. Our website is filled with information on this topic. At the end of the day, pick up the phone, call your CPA. There is because so many businesses are so obviously impacted. I mean, if you're under 100 employees and you had temporarily shut down due to a government order, and remember, these are governors and county executives and mayors. There was never a federal shutdown, right? So the percentage of businesses that were impacted is just huge, right? I think Small Business Administration says at least 25% of all small businesses, and there's 30 million of them, had to temporarily shut down. So the number of impacted businesses that are going to qualify easily without a whole bunch of nuanced legalese it is just gigantic, right? So if you can glance at this chart and say, oh, yeah, that's me, then run, not walk to getting this done and filling out the amended returns. We'd love to help you with that. And if you have any questions, your CPA can probably tell you in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, there was probably 1 or 2, behemoth tech organizations that didn't qualify from a reduction in gross receipts of 20% or greater, right? Where their business actually grew during the pandemic. I think every other small business saw some sort of disruption or reduction in revenue or gross receipts of 20% or greater. Again, I would ask yourself, why not? I would really ask folks to talk to folks, talk to your payroll companies, talk to your CPAs, accountants, talk to other businesses, because people are tapping into this at a record pace, and rightfully so. There's a big opportunity here.
Yeah, and maybe I didn't do a service by putting some math on the screen, but just take your eyes to the bottom row. For 2020, it's 50% of up to $10,000 in wages. So 50% of 10,000, that's simple, right? That's $5,000 per employee. So if you had only 10 employees, 5,000 times 10, that's $50,000. That's a lot of money to a 10-person company, right? But yeah, in 2021, it's up to 70% of that 10,000 per quarter. So it's 7,000 per quarter. That's $28,000 for the year. Now, you might not qualify for every quarter in 2021, but shoot, I mean, 28,000 in 21, 5,000 in 2020 for the most impacted businesses. You're talking about $32,000 per employee. That 10-person company, $320,000. It's like, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you at least inquire about, do I qualify? If it's get an official ruling from your CPA. Maybe talk a little bit about the getting in line part, Ale, because the way you get your money is in the form of a 941X. Maybe it's just explained for people. I think most small business owners know what a 941 is. What is a 941X, and what's the impact about getting in line for your money?
Yeah, no, it's great. So 941X is the amended return. So 941 is the return. 941X is when you need to amend that return based on these credits. And when we talk about, and by the way, as a power of attorney for our tens of thousands of clients, we do that for them, right? That is part of our service. The getting in line part is really important because we all understand the backlog that the IRS is dealing with, and we talked about the notice backlog and the right hand talking to the left hand and resolving those and getting it into their financial systems. That part is really important. So the folks that are getting this stuff done now are really truly going to be at the front of the line in order to receive these credits and the money. And so the longer you wait, the more people are in front of you that have had the 941X or the amended return for these specific credits already done and filed on their behalf. And so again, something that you just got to get on. You got to ask yourself, why not? If you're any type of business too. And I think about even the hospitality industry, right? And restaurants and whatnot. And those are automatic qualifiers, right? And so if you even were in those, you are guaranteed to qualify. And so there's certain things that encompass ERTC that, again, I think when the pandemic is all, when it's all said and done and all these programs go away, ERTC will be one that shines, that really gave small businesses the opportunities to open up again, to invest in their business again, to grow again. This will be the one that people talk about for years to come.
No, I think you're exactly right. All right. Guys, I really appreciate you joining us today. So if you missed it at the top of the hour here, we're unpacking an ebook. So how did you phrase it, Ale? Everything you were always afraid to ask?
Everything you've ever wanted to know about the different programs and legislations available to you, but were afraid to ask.
Yeah, there you go. So we really try to pack it all in. The content is dense, but it's also filled with links to IRS sites, Small Business Administration websites, tons and tons of resources that extend beyond just this ebook itself. Whether you're an Asure customer or not, you can get value from this. So our objective is to really just produce a tool for small business owners to make the most out of the very difficult situation as we all navigate this pandemic, so that you can stay compliant, that you don't get yourself in hot water, because ignorance of the law isn't an excuse. But more importantly, I think in today's context is, how do you maximize every single penny of stimulus that is available to small businesses, so we can all get growing again. So encourage you, hop on the website, download the ebook, share it. We really hope this is a valuable tool for you and your business. Ale, before we just say goodbye to everyone, maybe fill everybody in. We have built an employee retention tax credit, the ERTC filing service, right? So when I think about PPP, we created reports because we have the payroll data for our customers. So we created reports to help people fill out their PPP loan applications and then their forgiveness applications. But really the relationship was between the small business owner and their bank, right? Because the employee retention tax credit happens through the 941X, the amended return process, we're kind of at the epicenter of helping our clients get these credits back, right? So can you just kind of talk through what that looks like and how we'd like to help, even if you're not an Asure client?
Yeah, no, I think so we talk, okay, so why am I not eligible? So get through that first step, and odds are is that you're eligible, and talk to a CPA, talk to an accountant, look at your gross receipts. The math is fairly easy to figure out, but we can also help guide you with understanding if you're eligible or not, or here are the things to look at to understand if you're eligible. But once you are eligible, our service takes it over from there. So we review the qualified wages for you. We calculate the credits for you. We file the amended returns for you and essentially allow you to just sit there and claim the credits with the IRS. So once you're eligible or understand that you're eligible, that's it. We do everything end to end after that for our clients. And that's why I would say it's been an unprecedented service. The response has been unprecedented. I think we're in the first couple innings of the game as it relates to ERTC. So I do see acceleration and more companies coming there. But ultimately, we're doing everything end to end once organizations check that box that they are eligible for ERTC.
Yeah. So welcome anybody who's interested. If you're an Asure client, great. We have all the payroll data. This is easy. I would say it's really hard to do this with all the spreadsheet work if you don't have systems built to calculate the qualifying wages that back out PPP dollars, so you're not double dipping. All that stuff is pretty darn complex. If we have your data in our system, we make it really easy for you. And we have a way to make it easy for non-Asure clients to get the data from you and make it a smooth, easy process for you as well. So if all we do is provide you some tools to help you understand it better, and you don't use us, awesome, we're glad to help. But I think what we've created here is a kind of a special process that makes this faster, easier, simpler than any other way possible. So would love to help you out. If you want, hop on the website, suresoftware.com/ERTC. You'll learn all about what the service is. Just fill out the form at the bottom and we'll get in contact with you as soon as we can. Ale, I want to thank you very much for unpacking the ebook. I think this is one of our better ones, just because there's so much information around all the legislation, all the compliance, and most importantly, the stimulus available with the pandemic. Anything you'd want to say in closing remarks to our guests?
No, I think lots unprecedented times. Trillions of dollars, and you hear that every single day. Whether you read it online or watching any show on TV, trillions of dollars. But at the end of the day, trillions of dollars for small businesses. This isn't like 2007, a financial crisis where it was hundreds of billions of dollars bailing out big banks, big businesses. This is truly for small business owners. Tap into it. There's a lot there. There are partners out there that can help guide you with these things. We're one, whether you're a client or not, we can help facilitate those conversations for you. So no, take advantage of it, and really glad to participate in this webinar and this ebook.
All right, thanks, Al. Always enjoy our conversations, and thanks to everyone else for joining us. Look forward to talking to you next week.